Welcome back to another pen talk. Thanks for tuning in. The journey continues now. A little bit of a side journey. When I did my video on little unique pens, this one is one I came across in one of my drawers. I have no recollection of ever seeing it before or where I picked it up from. I'm certain I just saw it and liked it and bought it for 50 cents or something at a flea market. It was a little bit worse for wear when I first picked it up, but I've done some cleaning and the metal cleaned up pretty good. I've adjusted that clip. It's not perfect, but it's a little bit more functional than it was before. So the pen cleaned up fairly well, which is what I expected. These vintage ebonite pens do clean up well. So in doing the barrel, I noticed there's no J-bar in there, so I'm going to have to fit a J-bar in there, which I have a few of them. You know, they come in a long length, so I need to cut it to the right length and do that. And the nib was certainly not usable in the condition that it was in the pen originally. So I went through my vintage nibs and I came up with this Jenkins nib. I have a number of these Jenkins nibs and that seems to fit fairly nicely. I mean, it looks proportionately right for that pen and that size of pen. So everything's been cleaned up, so now we're going to put the J-bar in, find a sack that'll be the right size, and see how this little pen is going to work. So the next step is to replace the J-bar in this pen. So I was fortunate enough to find this one in my box of J-bars, which should fit nicely. I think I'm going to trim a little bit off of that end because you don't want it to get caught up on the end of the section here. So I'll probably trim about maybe a 1/4 inch off of that. It just slides in, and the way it's hooked here, that'll keep it in place. So we're getting close to getting this puppy to right. So I'm happy with how that J-bar came out. I pushed it all the way in. I have a little wooden dowel I use to push it in. It's hard to demonstrate with one hand holding the light, but I think you can see it. Yep, so that should work good. Number 16 sack will work fine, and we're going to get this puppy in writing order. This is a number 16 sack. I buy them in just a straight length, so you cut them to fit. So it fits in fairly well. So I just pinch it there, and then I'll use the section to determine where to snip it. I usually give it about 1/8 of an inch of clearance. We're going to use my usual glue it on and then let it set overnight and it's ready to write tomorrow. So we're ready for one of the final stages of this restoration. We got our talcum powder here. So we're going to dust the sack. Slides in easier, removes any moisture, and I align the top of the nib with the lever because that's what I like. Other people do other things. Slides in very well. I've put my shellac on the end of the we're all in. So I'm happy about that. So we're going to select a suitable ink, ink it up, and see how this resurrected pen writes. One thing I was concerned about is there's no cap liner, and you can see that clip is just pressed into place there. But thankfully the past couple days have had no ink drying out issues, but the nib is pretty wet, so one wouldn't expect it. So what ink to put in it? As I said, I've been trying to go back to my inks that I've had for a while that I haven't really used much, so this was one of my adventures into sepia inks. Got it at a pen show. It was $13. That's a reasonable price for this amount of ink. I had to put it in this little bottle to fill the little pen with because there's the ink is less than half full, so by the time I stuck the pen in there, I couldn't work the lever. Here's the color card, and it's certainly on the red side of brown. I certainly wouldn't call it sepia, but, you know, I guess some people could. And the chromatography pretty much represents what you'd expect. It's a nice, clear, consistent color with a interesting little band there at the very top. And it seems to have a little bit of shimmer to it, and I don't know, that's a strange color. In the color card where I laid down a whole bunch of ink there's no shimmer here, so not certain what we're seeing in the chromatography, but what really matters is how it looks when you write with it. Here we have our pen assembled, inked up, ready to go. Next, a writing sample. So we're ready to write. So why did I restore this pen? It just called out to me. I just think it's cute. And I was challenged to make certain I could get a nib in there that would work. And I do have a few vintage nibs, so thankfully I found one that seemed to fit the bill. So it's 1.5 turns to uncap. Definitely would write with this posted, and it posts fairly well. You need to put a little pressure on it to get that cap to fit well. And it does fit in the hand fine. I mean, it feels okay. That is a small section, but it's a small pen, so it works for me. I mean, I like this nib. It works well. It's smooth. I'd call it an extra fine with no pressure. Nice line. With a little bit of pressure, it opens up. It is a wet writer, as one would expect, with this ebonite feed and that vintage nib. It has exceeded my expectations in how it writes. And I actually enjoy it, which is probably why I decided to restore it, besides the challenges. So hopefully you've enjoyed this little vintage visit. A unique pen, there's probably the only one around. If anybody out there has seen another one of these, please let me know. So we reached the end of this video, so thank you for watching. Hopefully those that have asked for more vintage, this satisfied some of that urge. So we reached the end. May you have many great writing experiences. Get a chance to explore the wonderful world of pens that we have an opportunity to experience. So until the next video, we're going to say bye for now. Put some ink on paper. See how it looks. And I do like this nib.